The U.S. is deploying missile destroyers to the waters off Venezuela as part of President Trump's efforts to combat threats from Latin American drug cartels. The USS Gravely, the USS Jason Dunham, and the USS Sampson are being sent out there right now, a Defense Department official confirming that the military assets have been assigned to the region in support of counter-narcotics efforts. The official told the Associated Press that the vessels would be deployed, quote, over the course of the next several months. The deployment of U.S. destroyers and personnel comes as Trump has pushed for using the U.S. military to fight those cartels that he blames for the flow of fentanyl and other drugs into American communities and for perpetuating violence in some U.S. cities. We're also seeing reaction from several lawmakers to all of this, including Florida Senator Ashley Moody, who says, "Thank you, POTUS, for making America safe again. The cartel in Venezuela is flooding our region with illicit narcotics that are making their way into our communities, but now we say no more. I was proud to stand with the sheriff and others to recognize National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day to fight this lethal fentanyl crisis together." I want to discuss exactly what all of this means, so let's bring in a friend of the show here, Matthew Wiz Buckley, former Navy FA-18 fighter pilot, a Top Gun graduate, and the founder of the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Matthew, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Good seeing you, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And first off, I did want to ask you what kind of message the U.S. is trying to send by deploying these destroyers.
Well, Josh, it's a very clear message. This is a lot of sovereign U.S. territory off the coast of Venezuela and a lot of Marines and sailors. This is a message that says we're going to be serious. I mean, these drugs from Venezuela have killed more Americans than we've lost in combat in the past 20 years. These cartels are terrorist organizations. The Maduro regime is in bed with these organizations, giving them tacit support. So it's time. It's past time to act. The president has designated many of these cartels as terrorist organizations. That means technically, legally, he's allowed to strike. So this is a serious flex of American muscle, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And as we do take a live look outside of the Capitol right here in D.C., the president there has responded by essentially rallying militia forces and projecting defiance, again, talking about Venezuela specifically after this announcement was made. How seriously should the U.S. and its allies take these domestic mobilizations there in Venezuela?
Well, Josh, I take them with a grain of salt. I saw the mobilization of about 4,000 folks. I mean, just even looking at these troops, so-called troops, makes me chuckle. I mean, the Iwo Jima ARG Amphibious Ready Group has 22 Marines, and then the supplementary vessels, I think, has 2,200 supplementary vessels, has maybe another 2,000. So I'd stack up our nearly 4,500 Marines against Maduro's troops. And these are also special operations capable Marines in the 22nd MEU. So these Marines are not to be messed with. So if we're going to do it tit for tat, I think my money's on the United States Marine Corps. But it's interesting, Josh, because the president, Maduro has a $50 million bounty on his head, and Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, or whatever his new company is named, tweeted out recently. He said, "Well, that should be dead or alive." Pretty sure somebody like that could probably go make that happen. So it's way past time for the United States to take action against cartels that are killing people. It's heartbreaking, Josh. You see this on the news every day. A young teenager somewhere, fentanyl, just a microscopic piece of fentanyl can kill people. We need serious action. And as I said, designating them as terrorist organizations, just like President Trump in his first term. The Iranian Republican Revolutionary Guard was designated a terrorist organization. And when General Soleimani left Iran, President Trump turned him into hair, teeth, and eyeballs. So I'm pretty sure President Trump backs up his words with action, and Maduro just, my money's on the Marines. And don't forget, Josh, send in the Navy ships down there as well. A lot of narco subs these drug cartels. I saw yesterday reading about this that the Colombian Navy recently intercepted a narco sub that didn't have anybody on board. It had Starlink, it was remote controlled, and had videos on it. So we need these Aegis class destroyers in that area. They can take care of air threats, surface, and subsurface threats. There's a cool video that I think it was a year or two ago, a video of United States Coast Guard personnel in a fast boat jumping on a narco sub and banging on the hatch and doing this stuff. So this is I'm old enough to remember a good 90s movie, I think was A Clear and Present Danger. These cartels are a clear and present danger, and we need to take action to save American lives.
I wanted to ask you, because you touched on this already about the U.S. trying to designate these cartels, certain cartels, as terrorist organizations. Does that change anything about maybe the rules, the laws of how they can engage?
Absolutely. Well, it's weapons free. When we designate somebody a terrorist organization, whether it's the Republican Guard that we just talked about or the Houthis in Yemen, when we designate you a terrorist organization, we can take all means, obviously under the rules of warfare, to act. Now, obviously, the president's kind of tiptoeing around with Mexico. Obviously, they're right on our southern border, but there's been a lot of drone flights and a lot of cooperation going on because Mexico knows they need to step up and start taking command too. But designating these a terrorist organization, you might as well call them Al Qaeda or ISIS. They are an enemy of the United States. They are killing our civilians, and something needs to be done. And I think the president's done a great job. He's told the Mexican president, like, hey, you clean it up or we're going to have to clean it up for you. Clearly, Venezuela, that's not the case. That guy had zero interest in cleaning any of this up. It's a very corrupt government, and they're in bed with these cartels and follow the money, right? So he can bluster all he wants, but it's going to be interesting to see what. Whenever we do anything like this, Josh, in the military, I always immediately go, and hopefully our planners in the Pentagon, I know General Kane really well, Raisin's a buddy of mine. There has to be a bottom right of the whiteboard that says, what's the ultimate goal? What is the desired end state? General Colin Powell, before, he was ordered by President Bush to get Iraq out of Kuwait, he said, hold on, Mr. President, what's our exit plan? We're not doing anything before we know how this is going to end or what success looks like. So, Josh, in all my reading about this, I'm trying to dig around to a little bit more of what the desired end state is. Obviously, it's hopefully to stop the flow of this type of stuff. But armed conflict, I don't know. Hopefully not.
And my last question, kind of leaning into that right there. What is next? What do folks need to be watching for, the average American, as they see what does happen next as a result of this?
Well, they should be proud. Most presidents have paid lip service to this war on drugs. I couldn't stand, Josh, as a man who flew a fighter jet for this country for 15 years. I couldn't stand when people would throw around the word war, right? Well, we're in a war on drugs. Well, we've been getting our rear ends handed to us for decades in this quote war on drugs. If it's going to be a war on drugs, let's live up to that word war, and it should be violent and horrific so it ends quickly. This quote war on drugs has been a death by 1,000 cuts. So Americans should feel good. Try and stop the flow of fentanyl, to stop seeing these parents crying on the evening news about their son or daughter who overdosed, did something that a teenager should do, and now they're gone. It's an absolute horror, and I applaud President Trump for standing up to protect American lives. That's the top of presidential list of to-dos is that. Secure the borders, protect American lives, and President Donald Trump is doing it.
There you go. All right, Wiz, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to join us. Anything we missed, anything you want to add here before I let you go?
No, just real quick, keep the sailors and the Marines on the tip of the spear in your thoughts, folks. I mean, these are 18, 19-year-old young men and women up there on the tip of the spear. And I thank God that we have people like that in this country who are still willing to take the call. So always keep them in your thoughts and your prayers when we send them into harm's way.
Definitely keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you again, Wiz, for taking the time to be here.
You bet, Josh. God bless. We'll see you.